At the base of Mount Fuji, there's a forest so dense and quiet that even the wind seems to get lost in it. Aokigahara isn't your average woodland. From above, it looks peaceful, like a thick green sea frozen in time. But step inside and something shifts. The air grows heavy, the silence becomes unnatural, and the deeper you go, the more it feels like the forest is swallowing you whole. Aokigahara has a chilling reputation. It's known across Japan as a place where people vanish and commit suicide. Local patrols regularly search the area, and signs are posted along trails urging visitors to think carefully before going deeper. Officials have even installed cameras in key areas, not for wildlife, but for watching over people. That's how serious the situation is. The forest itself adds to the unsettling feeling. The thick lava rock beneath your feet absorbs sound. Birds are rare. Your own footsteps seem distant. GPS and phone signals often drop, and compasses spin uselessly. Hikers can lose their sense of direction within minutes, even if they are experienced. Many people leave behind ribbons tied to trees to mark their path, but sometimes those trails end suddenly with no sign of the person who left them. There's also a strange coldness that people report. Sudden temperature drops, even on warm days. Some say they've felt watched. Others speak of whispers or figures glimpsed between the trees. Whether those are tricks of the mind or something else, nobody can say for sure. The forest has inspired horror movies, documentaries, and even scenes in popular video games. It's become a symbol, not just in Japan, but around the world, of something deeply unsettling. A place where nature and human emotion meet in a way that's hard to describe. What's certain is that Aokigahara isn't just a forest. It's a place filled with silence, mystery, and stories that never made it out. There's a forest in South Asia where even the bravest locals think twice before entering. Stretching across the border of India and Bangladesh, the Sundarbans is the world's largest mangrove forest and one of the most dangerous places to walk on Earth. Why? Because it's home to Bengal tigers. Not just any tigers, these ones have developed a reputation for actively hunting humans. Scientists still debate why. Some say it's because of the salty water affecting their senses. Others think it's the lack of food deep in the forest. But one thing's clear. People who live in nearby villages know that once you step into the Sundarbans, you're not at the top of the food chain. The forest is a tangled maze of muddy creeks, roots that twist out of the water like claws, and dense thickets that can hide a tiger just a few feet away. Visibility is low and the terrain is constantly shifting with the tides. It's the perfect hunting ground for an ambush predator. Local villagers often perform rituals before entering the woods, leaving offerings and even wearing masks on the back of their heads, because tigers prefer to strike from behind. Think about that. People wear masks to trick the predator into thinking they're watching it. That's the level of fear and respect this forest demands. Despite conservation efforts, the forest remains incredibly hostile to outsiders. There are reports of boats being attacked from the shore, of footprints vanishing mid-trail, and of entire search parties giving up after just a few hours in the deeper regions. Sundarbans isn't haunted by ghosts, it's ruled by one of nature's most perfect hunters. And in this forest, you're not exploring, you're trespassing. Deep in the Peruvian Amazon, far from roads and villages, there's a river that shouldn't exist. It's not near any volcano, and yet the water is hot enough to cook animals alive. This is the boiling river of the Amazon, and it's one of the strangest and deadliest natural wonders ever discovered. Known to locals as Shanai Tempishka, or the river that kills with heat, the water here can reach temperatures of up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Drop a leaf in and it sizzles. Small creatures that fall in don't stand a chance. In fact, one of the river's first scientific explorers told a story of a small animal that fell in and was boiled from the inside out within minutes. What's truly bizarre is that the river is nowhere near a volcanic system. For years, geologists were baffled. Eventually, it was found that deep faults in the Earth's crust allowed geothermal water to surge up and heat the river. But even now, much of the process remains a mystery. Surrounding the river is thick jungle, home to exotic species, rare plants, and insects found nowhere else. But this isn't a tourist spot. The terrain is unstable, the humidity is suffocating, and one wrong step could land you in scalding water. This place has been sacred to local tribes for generations, treated with reverence and caution. They believe the river has a powerful spirit, and when you see steam rising off the surface, it's easy to understand why. Most people have heard of the Amazon as a lush green paradise, but few know that deep inside its heart, there's a river that can burn you alive without fire. In northern Tanzania, there's a lake so strange it looks like a sci-fi illusion, and so extreme it turns animals into statues. Welcome to Lake Natron, where the water is red, the shores are crusted with salt, and the surface looks like it belongs on another planet. This isn't a peaceful place for a swim. Lake Natron is filled with sodium carbonate and high levels of alkalinity, sometimes reaching a pH of nearly 10.5. The water is so caustic it can burn skin, strip feathers, and preserve dead animals in eerie statue-like form. Birds that misjudge the surface and land on it often don't make it back up. Their remains, dried and coated in minerals, have been found around the lake, perfectly preserved. Despite the danger, some wildlife has adapted. A rare species of flamingo actually nests here, taking advantage of the lake's toxic defense. It's one of the few places in the world where flamingos can raise their chicks away from predators, because even crocodiles stay away. From above, the lake glows red and orange due to microscopic organisms thriving in the heat and chemical mix. It's beautiful, but in a way that warns you to keep your distance. National Geographic once called it a lake of fire, and honestly, that's not far off. Lake Natron is nature's reminder that even water, something we see as life-giving, can become something deadly under the right conditions. Crystal clear water, untouched beaches, swaying palm trees. Bikini Atoll looks like the perfect island escape. But this Pacific paradise hides one of the most dangerous legacies of the nuclear age. Between 1946 and 1958, the United States used this group of islands for nuclear testing, 23 explosions in total, including the massive Castle Bravo blast. That single detonation was over 1,000 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. The explosion created a crater over a mile wide and sent radioactive debris flying for hundreds of miles. Entire islands were vaporized. The local population was relocated, but long-term exposure affected generations. Today, the atoll remains largely uninhabited. Radiation levels have decreased on some islands, but many remain too toxic for safe living. What's eerie is that nature returned. Birds nest, fish swim, palm trees grow, but studies show that some plants contain radioactive isotopes, and marine life around certain areas still show signs of contamination. Divers sometimes visit the underwater graveyards of ships sunk during the tests, including aircraft carriers and submarines. It's like an eerie underwater museum frozen in time. Bikini Atoll looks like paradise, but its soil, its water, and even its beauty carry a hidden danger that will likely last for thousands of years. At first glance, Picher, Oklahoma looks like a forgotten small town. Quiet streets, crumbling buildings, and silence. But there's a reason no one lives here anymore. It's one of the most contaminated places in North America. Picher was once a booming mining town. For decades, it produced lead and zinc, which helped fuel American industry. But the mining left behind millions of tons of toxic waste, massive gray mounds called chat piles that towered over neighborhoods. Dust from those piles blew through the air, coated homes, and eventually poisoned the soil, water, and even people. The ground beneath the town became unstable. Sinkholes began opening under streets and schools. Foundations cracked. The water supply turned dangerous. And tests revealed alarming levels of lead in residents, especially in the local population. By the early 2000s, the government stepped in. One by one, families were relocated. Entire neighborhoods were bulldozed. Today, Picher is a ghost town with warning signs posted at its borders. Nature has started to take back the area, but the contamination remains. Even the wind can carry harmful dust. What was once a proud industrial town is now a cautionary tale about how digging too deep literally can destroy everything above. About 90 miles off the coast of São Paulo lies an island so dangerous, the Brazilian Navy has banned all civilian access. This is Ilha da Queimada Grande, better known as Snake Island, and it's exactly what it sounds like. This island is home to one of the world's most venomous snakes, the golden lancehead pit viper. Not just a few of them. By some estimates, there's one snake for every square meter. These snakes aren't just deadly. Their venom is 5 times more potent than their mainland cousins and can cause almost instant effects. Why are there so many snakes here? It's all about isolation. Thousands of years ago, rising sea levels cut off the island from the mainland. With no predators and plenty of birds to hunt, the snake population exploded. Over time, they evolved to become more toxic and more aggressive to catch fast-moving prey. There are local stories of fishermen whose boats drifted too close, only to vanish later found with signs of snake encounters. Even researchers, when granted rare access, must wear protective gear and follow strict protocols. From a distance, Snake Island looks like any tropical paradise. But get close, and it quickly becomes clear. This place wasn't made for people. It's nature's no-go zone, ruled by creatures that strike fast and don't miss. Spanning across southern Georgia and northern Florida, the Okefenokee Swamp is more than just a giant marshland. It's one of the oldest and darkest wetland systems in North America, and it feels alive in every sense of the word. Locals call it the land of trembling earth because the peat islands actually shift beneath your feet. You walk and the ground ripples. That alone would make it strange, but it gets weirder. The swamp is filled with black water, acidic and so dark it reflects like glass. Add to that thousands of alligators, venomous snakes, and hidden sinkholes, and you've got one of the most hazardous natural areas in the US. What makes the Okefenokee truly eerie is its sound, or sometimes the lack of it. There are stretches where even birds go silent, and others where the swamp groans and bubbles like it's alive. People have reported ghost lights, floating orbs that move with no source, and unexplained voices echoing across the water. During the 1800s, settlers tried to drain the swamp and failed. Later, parts were used as dumping grounds. Some say old spirits were disturbed. Today, even experienced hikers can get lost in the maze of waterways, where visibility can drop to just a few feet due to thick fog. The Okefenokee isn't haunted in the classic sense. It's something older, something natural but not quite safe. A place where land, water, and mystery blend into one endless breathing forest. In the canals of Xochimilco, just south of Mexico City, there's an island that feels like it belongs in a nightmare. It's not the jungle setting that gets to you, it's the dolls. Hundreds of them. Hanging from trees, nailed to walls, tied to branches, all in various stages of decay. Some are missing eyes. Others have limbs twisted the wrong way. And all of them seem to be watching. This eerie place is known as Isla de las Muñecas, the Island of the Dolls. It began as a small plot of land cared for by a man named Don Julian Santana. According to the story, he once found the body of a young girl who had drowned in the nearby canal. Shortly after, he spotted a doll floating in the water. He hung it in a tree as a gesture of respect. But then something strange happened. He said he heard whispers, saw shadows moving between trees. Believing the girl's spirit was restless, he started collecting more dolls. People who passed by in boats would bring them. Eventually, every tree on the island was filled with hanging plastic faces and cracked porcelain limbs. Some say Don Julian lost his mind. Others say the island changed him. What's undeniable is how unsettling the place is. Even in daylight, the dolls swing gently in the breeze, creaking on their wires. At night, visitors have reported hearing laughter, footsteps on dry leaves, and dolls that seem to move without wind. Tourists still visit, but very few stay long. The island isn't just creepy, it feels emotionally heavy. Some say you can feel the sorrow in the air. Others leave behind their own dolls as offerings. The Island of the Dolls is more than a curiosity. It's a floating memorial, a growing forest of forgotten toys, and one of the most disturbing places you can find on water. Somewhere in the remote forests of Kerala, India, lies a place that defies all logic. A giant, near-perfect hole in the earth, known among locals as the Gavi Abyss. Streams rush toward it from every side, disappearing into the void with no splash, no echo, no trace. This isn't a man-made dam or a cave you can walk through. It's a vertical sinkhole ringed by smooth stone and rushing water that plunges straight down. Explorers have tried to measure it, but even with modern equipment, its true depth remains a mystery. Some believe it connects to ancient underground rivers. Others say it's cursed, part of the earth that was never meant to be found. Whatever the truth is, one thing's certain: if you fall in, you're not coming back. High up on the slopes of Mount Everest, beyond 26,000 feet, lies a place most climbers never talk about openly, but every mountaineer knows it exists. It's called Rainbow Valley, and despite the name, it's anything but cheerful. This stretch of terrain just below the summit is where many climbers have taken their final steps. And the rainbow part? It comes from the brightly colored jackets and gear still worn by the bodies frozen in place. At that altitude, the air is razor thin. Temperatures drop to deadly lows and the human body starts shutting down. Rescue operations become nearly impossible. For years, the fallen have remained exactly where they collapsed, preserved by the cold, untouched by time. Some are used as trail markers, others are partially buried in ice. Climbers in Rainbow Valley walk a razor's edge, literally. The paths are narrow, the winds can shift in seconds, and even the most experienced mountaineers have misstepped. The oxygen is so limited up there that it's often called the death zone. Your body begins to deteriorate no matter how prepared you are. This valley is a brutal reminder of Everest's unforgiving nature. The summit may be the ultimate prize, but just below it lies a landscape filled with silence and color, a place where ambition, weather, and fate all collide. And once you're in Rainbow Valley, there's no easy way back. In the Andes Mountains of Colombia stands Nevado del Ruiz, a snow-capped volcano that looks peaceful, almost beautiful from a distance. But beneath that quiet surface lies one of the most dangerous volcanoes on the planet. In one devastating night, it made history. A minor eruption melted part of the glacier sitting on top of the mountain, sending a massive wall of mud, ash, and rock crashing down the slopes. The lahar, essentially a volcanic mudflow, raced downhill at terrifying speed. Within 2 hours, it hit the town of Armero. The people didn't hear an explosion. There was no warning siren, just a roar. And then everything disappeared under a wave of thick, churning earth. Over 20,000 lives were lost in what became one of the deadliest volcanic disasters of the 20th century. What makes Nevado del Ruiz so dangerous isn't just its explosive potential, it's the ice. The volcano is permanently capped with snow and glaciers, which can instantly turn an eruption into a fast-moving, unstoppable flood. Even a small eruption can unleash a deadly lahar without warning. Today, the region is monitored constantly, and evacuation plans are in place. But the memory of Armero still lingers. Locals know that this mountain doesn't need a massive eruption to become deadly. It just needs a little heat, and gravity does the rest. Between Panama and Colombia, the Pan-American Highway hits a dead end. What blocks it isn't ocean or mountain, it's something far more dangerous: the Darien Gap. A wild, lawless stretch of swampy jungle and razor-sharp ridges that's one of the most unforgiving places on Earth. This dense jungle isn't just difficult, it's nearly impassable. There are no real roads, only shifting paths swallowed by the rainforest. Torrential rain turns trails into rivers. Steep terrain, deep mud pits, and tangled vegetation make progress brutally slow. Even GPS struggles here, but the terrain isn't the only threat. Dangerous wildlife roam the area: jaguars, venomous snakes, and swarms of biting insects. Sudden floods are common. People have gone in with full gear and never come out. The Darien Gap has long been known as a place of mystery and danger. Indigenous communities live deep within it, but even they navigate it cautiously. In recent years, it's also become a passage for those trying to cross continents on foot. But those who attempt it face days or even weeks of isolation, exhaustion, and constant risk. From above, it looks like paradise. Up close, it's a maze of green chaos. The Darien Gap isn't just a gap in the highway, it's a natural wall that has stopped armies, explorers, and adventurers in their tracks. And it continues to do so. Hidden in the rolling countryside of West Sussex, England, is a forest that looks ordinary from the outside, but carries a dark reputation that's lasted for decades. Clapham Wood is dense, quiet, and often cloaked in mist. But what makes it infamous isn't how it looks. It's what people claim happens inside. Over the years, 4 bodies have been found in or near the woods, people who had gone missing under strange circumstances. Their deaths weren't all ruled suspicious, but locals noticed a disturbing pattern. The forest seemed to draw people in, and not all of them came out. Dogs are known to panic when entering Clapham Wood. Some refuse to go in altogether. Others run off and are never seen again. Walkers have reported sudden sickness, overwhelming dizziness, and even loss of time while inside. There's also talk of strange lights chanting at night and shadowy figures watching from the trees. It gets even weirder. In the 1970s and 80s, local reports began linking the forest to occult activity. A secretive group, believed to be connected to ritual practices, was rumored to use the area for gatherings. Some investigators claim to have found evidence of symbols carved into trees, burned clearings, and animal remains arranged in unnatural ways. The official records stay quiet about this, but locals haven't forgotten. Many won't go near Clapham Wood after dark. Some say the forest changes when you're alone. Paths feel unfamiliar, sounds disappear, and the trees seem to move just enough to get you lost. Whether it's the landscape playing tricks or something far more sinister, Clapham Wood remains one of England's most unsettling places. An unassuming forest with a reputation soaked in whispers and secrets. In northern Ukraine lies a place frozen in time, the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Over 1,000 square miles of abandoned towns, forests, and decaying buildings, still scarred by the 1986 nuclear disaster. At the center stands Reactor 4, sealed beneath layers of steel and concrete. But beyond the ruins, the land tells another story, one of eerie silence, radioactive soil, and nature reclaiming what humans lost. What's shocking isn't just the absence of people, it's how the zone feels. Trees grow through buildings. Wild animals roam freely. Wolves, bears, and even rare Przewalski's horses now live where entire towns once stood. It looks like a post-apocalyptic film, but it's real. Radiation hotspots still exist. Some parts are safe to visit with precautions, others remain dangerously contaminated. Mushrooms here can be hundreds of times more radioactive than safe levels. A forest fire in this area could release trapped radiation back into the air. And yet, life continues. Grass grows, birds sing. But there's always a hum in the back of your mind when standing in the exclusion zone, like the land itself is still recovering from something it wasn't meant to endure. Deep in the jungles of Belize is a cave so hidden you can only reach it by swimming through dark, flooded tunnels. Inside, it opens up into vast chambers filled with stalactites, ancient pottery, and human remains. This is Aktun Tunikil Muknal, one of the most mysterious and sacred caves in Central America. The cave was used by the ancient Maya for spiritual rituals. Over 1,000 years ago, it was believed to be a gateway to the underworld, a place where the living could speak with gods. The air is thick, humid, and still. Even today, stepping inside feels like entering a different world. But what draws most attention is the Crystal Maiden, the preserved skeleton of a young person whose bones have fused with the cave floor. Over time, mineral-rich water coated the skeleton in shimmering calcite, giving it a ghostly, crystal-like appearance. There are more than a dozen other sets of remains deep inside. Some show signs of ritual activity, broken bones, offerings placed nearby, and ceremonial artifacts scattered around them. Access is tightly controlled now. Tourists must go with certified guides, wear helmets, and leave electronics outside. No photos are allowed inside anymore, to preserve the cave's sacred atmosphere and protect its fragile history.
This is the one place on Earth where trespassing could quite literally get you stopped by armed guards, motion sensors, or even surveillance drones before you step past the dust. Area 51 is tucked deep inside the Nevada desert, shielded by mountains and miles of restricted airspace. Even from satellite images, what's really happening there is never fully clear. All flights around it are forbidden, and even military pilots don't get close unless specifically cleared. So, what makes this place so untouchable? Officially, it's a military testing site. Unofficially, that's where things get strange. For decades, people have speculated about what's being stored or tested here. Flying saucers, alien bodies, secret tech decades ahead of anything the public has seen. The government didn't even admit it existed until the 2010s, and even then only partially. The mystery is baked into the dirt. Spotting a pickup truck with blacked-out windows watching you from a ridge? That's common. Hikers who try to get too close have been met by helicopters or military patrols within minutes. Warning signs don't just threaten fines, they say deadly force is authorized. That's how serious this place is. The name Area 51 has become a part of pop culture, featured in shows like The X-Files and Independence Day, and yet, no one really knows what's behind those fences. Some believe advanced aircraft like the U-2 and SR-71 were first tested here, which is true. But others think that what's happening now is far more advanced, possibly things we wouldn't believe even if we saw them. What fuels the theories even more is the silence. No press, no photos, no real confirmation, just satellite shots of hangars big enough to swallow commercial jets, and the quiet hum of something being hidden in plain sight. Whatever is going on behind those blast-proof doors, the government wants to keep it that way. Just off the coast of Sao Paulo, there's a patch of land so dangerous that even the Brazilian Navy keeps a wide berth. It's not radioactive. It's not haunted. It's crawling with snakes. Thousands of them. This is Ilha da Queimada Grande, better known as Snake Island. You won't see tourists kayaking around it or drone shots on travel vlogs. The government has completely banned access, and there's a good reason. The island is home to the golden lancehead viper, a snake so venomous it can melt human flesh around the bite. Scientists who visited it under strict military supervision report that you can barely take a few steps without seeing another one slithering past. Some estimates suggest there are 3 snakes per square feet, which makes even standing still dangerous. There are old rumors about lighthouse keepers who once tried living there, but none stayed long. Today, it's uninhabited, except for the reptiles, which have evolved without predators. These vipers can strike with terrifying speed, and their venom acts fast. Even trained herpetologists need backup and anti-venom before stepping ashore. Despite all this, the island remains a source of fascination. What kind of place evolves to be this lethal and this protected? For now, it remains locked behind official restrictions, a biological anomaly in the middle of the ocean. Now head across the globe, and the threat shifts from natural to man-made, but the secrecy is just as thick. Deep in the Australian outback lies the Woomera Prohibited Area, a zone so vast it's larger than some entire countries. Spanning over 47,000 square miles, it's officially off-limits to civilians. While it may look like nothing more than endless red dust and scrub, what lies beneath and above has been under military control since the 1940s. Missile tests, experimental aircraft, and classified defense projects have been conducted here, all behind barriers no outsider is allowed to cross. Satellite images only tell part of the story. What you don't see are the underground bunkers, the surveillance systems tracking movement miles away, or the warning signs placed far in advance of the real perimeter. Locals report hearing strange mechanical sounds in the night sky and seeing unmarked aircraft vanish over the desert. The Australian government isn't exactly forthcoming with details, and that only adds to the rumors. Some believe parts of the area were once used to test high-radiation weapons, and that entry now could still be hazardous even without anyone shooting at you. What connects these places isn't just how locked down they are, it's that each one hides something we're not supposed to know. And the closer you look, the more questions appear. In the heart of Vatican City lies a sealed world beneath polished marble and centuries-old chapels, one that few ever get to see. Officially called the Vatican Apostolic Archive, this underground labyrinth stores some of the most sensitive, oldest, and possibly most controversial documents in existence. It stretches for over 50 miles of shelving, yet access is limited to just a handful of researchers at any given time. Even then, they must request exact documents in advance and are forbidden from browsing freely. You won't find this level of restriction at any other library on Earth. The Church claims the archives hold only administrative records, papal letters, and historical documents, but many suspect there's more, much more. Stories persist about lost books of the Bible, transcripts of secret trials, and even evidence of early contact with unexplained phenomena. Some theorists believe the Vatican has locked away records of ancient technologies or cosmic events so disruptive that revealing them would shake the foundations of belief. Whether or not that's true, the fact remains. Thousands of years of guarded history are kept behind secured doors, under constant surveillance with no cameras, no public tours, and no transparency. It's not just a vault, it's a controlled blackout of human knowledge. Unlike places where danger is physical, here the threat may lie in ideas themselves. What has been sealed away for centuries? Why is so much access still denied in an age of instant information? Those answers are kept in silence, buried under Rome. Along the coast of South Carolina lies an island that looks like any other from a distance. Dense trees, coastal marshes, no buildings in sight. But set foot too close, and you'll quickly find out why Morgan Island is strictly off-limits. It's not patrolled by guards or surrounded by razor wire, but by something far more unpredictable, over 3,000 rhesus macaques. This entire island is a live testing ground, though you won't see any labs. The monkeys were relocated here decades ago and are used exclusively for medical research, with their population closely managed under federal contracts. No civilians are allowed to land, swim near it, or even boat too close. While they may look curious and harmless from afar, rhesus macaques are known to be territorial and aggressive, and more importantly, they can carry viruses that pose serious risks to humans. That's one of the reasons access is so heavily restricted. Any accidental interaction could result in a serious outbreak. It's a unique setup, a biological facility disguised as wilderness. What adds to the intrigue is that the island is completely uninhabited by humans, yet fully operational from afar. It's like a floating ghost town, ruled by primates, an eerie reminder that some frontiers of science are meant to stay out of reach. Nestled in the green hills of North Yorkshire, England, is a site that looks like a sci-fi film set. Dozens of massive white domes scattered across the landscape, all sealed tight. This is RAF Menwith Hill, one of the most secretive intelligence hubs in the world. Officially, it's a British Royal Air Force station, but it's jointly operated by the United States and serves as a key listening post in the global surveillance network. What exactly it listens to, however, is classified, and always has been. The giant radar domes aren't just for show. Each one conceals powerful antennas that intercept communications from satellites, undersea cables, and possibly even cell networks. For decades, Menwith Hill has been linked to global spy programs that collect data far beyond the borders of the UK. Some say it can monitor calls, track digital activity, or follow aircraft halfway across the planet. Journalists and researchers have tried to uncover what goes on inside, but security is airtight. The facility is surrounded by motion detectors, fences, patrols, and warning signs that leave no room for doubt. You're not welcome anywhere near. Despite public concern over privacy and surveillance, the base continues to grow. New buildings go up, the domes expand, and operations increase, all while the true purpose of the site remains locked behind code names and clearances. If there's a place where modern espionage runs in silence, it's here, hidden in plain sight, under white bubbles in the English countryside, listening to a world that doesn't even know it's being heard. From a quiet island in the American South, we shift to one of the most opaque buildings on Earth, buried deep inside Pyongyang. Room 39, as it's known internationally, is a highly secretive department within North Korea's ruling structure. Its true purpose remains unconfirmed, but analysts believe it's a powerhouse of state-controlled wealth generation, an office that manages everything from foreign currency reserves to hidden offshore operations. Unlike ordinary government departments, Room 39 is completely hidden from public view. Its location isn't even marked, and no photos of the actual interior exist. What's known comes from defector reports and rare leaks. It's said that Room 39 has access to foreign bank accounts, exclusive trade routes, and front companies scattered across Asia and Europe. It's not just a building, it's an economic control center operating outside global oversight. Some even compare it to the shadowy organizations seen in spy thrillers with coded communications, diplomatic immunity, and unrestricted funds. The tight security and silence surrounding it make even high-security military zones seem transparent in comparison. What's especially chilling is that no outsider has ever truly investigated what happens behind its doors. Whatever Room 39 controls, it does so with absolute secrecy. In a country already closed to the world, this is the one room even the privileged don't talk about. Carved into a frozen mountain on a remote Arctic island, the Svalbard Global Seed Vault isn't hidden, but it's about as unapproachable as a place can get. It sits more than 800 miles from the North Pole, surrounded by polar bears, permafrost, and miles of uninhabitable terrain. There are no towns nearby, no residents, just a concrete wedge jutting from the side of a mountain, with a reinforced steel door that leads to one of the most secure food vaults on Earth. What's inside? Over 1 million seed samples from nearly every known crop on the planet. This place was built to survive anything: floods, wars, power failures, even nuclear disasters. Its purpose is simple but massive. If the worst happens and a region loses its food crops, these seeds can help replant civilization. And yet, it's not fully accessible. Only select scientists and authorized representatives from certain nations are allowed inside. There's no walking tour, no full inventory publicly shared, and definitely no press allowed near the storage chambers themselves. It's often called the Doomsday Vault, and the name isn't an exaggeration. This isn't just a warehouse, it's the planet's agricultural safety net. What makes it even more fascinating is that while the entrance is visible, what happens beyond those steel doors is invisible to the public. It's a real-life vault built not for money, but for survival, quietly humming in the Arctic cold while the rest of the world spins on, unaware of how much it might one day depend on what's locked away inside. Far south of mainland Australia, closer to Antarctica than to Sydney, lies an island that few have ever seen in person, and even fewer have set foot on. Heard Island is technically Australian territory, but it might as well be another planet. Covered in glaciers, battered by brutal winds, and sitting atop an active volcano, this frozen island is one of the most remote and restricted places on Earth. Getting there requires special government permission, weeks of planning, and a vessel capable of navigating treacherous seas with no port in sight. Dominating the island is Mawson Peak, an active volcano that rises through the ice and often vents steam into the frozen air. Unlike other volcanoes, this one has no tourist lookout or nearby village. It's surrounded by a hostile, icy wilderness and a total absence of infrastructure. The Australian government has declared the area a strictly protected nature reserve, meaning access is granted only for rare scientific expeditions, and even then, under extreme environmental controls. Most researchers study it by satellite or aircraft, never getting close enough to feel the ground shake beneath them. What makes Heard Island so intriguing is the sense that it hides something raw and untouched, something dangerous not because of people, but because of nature itself. It's a place where time slows down, where the modern world simply doesn't exist. No lights, no signals, no shelter, just an unpredictable volcano rising out of the Antarctic mist, and an unspoken rule that it's better left alone. It's one of the most famous archaeological sites in the world, and also one of the most untouched. While millions have seen the terracotta army standing silently in neat rows near Xi'an, China, very few realize that the emperor they were built to protect still rests nearby, in a tomb that has never been opened. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang, China's first emperor, is said to contain rivers of mercury, sprawling chambers, and ancient traps designed to stop anyone who tries to enter. And so far, those defenses are working. Not a single person has ever excavated the inner tomb. Chinese archaeologists know exactly where it is, but for decades have refused to disturb it. Part of that is respect for the ancient engineering, but there's also fear. Soil tests around the burial mound have revealed alarmingly high levels of mercury, suggesting the old legends about rivers of toxic metal may not be stories at all. Add to that historical texts mentioning crossbow traps rigged to fire automatically, and it's no wonder the site remains sealed under tons of earth. Unlike other ancient sites, this one remains frozen in time, sealed since around 210 BC. What lies inside? Gold, maps, lost history, or something stranger entirely? For now, no one knows. The Chinese government has made it clear that disturbing the tomb is not a priority. Whatever secrets the first emperor took to his grave are still buried with him, locked behind ancient defenses that seem to be working just as they were meant to. Tucked deep in northeastern France lies a stretch of land where time seems to have stopped, and where no one is allowed to live, build, or even walk freely. This is the Zone Rouge, or Red Zone, a cluster of heavily restricted areas still poisoned by the destruction of World War I. More than a century has passed since the fighting ended, but the soil here is still filled with unexploded shells, craters, and chemicals that can kill. Entire forests were wiped out, villages were flattened and never rebuilt. In some parts, nature has barely begun to return. French authorities fenced off these zones long ago and still consider them too dangerous to reclaim. Specialists in protective suits occasionally enter to dispose of old artillery, some of it corroded and unstable. Even today, farmers outside the Red Zone regularly dig up what's known as the iron harvest, decades-old munitions that continue to surface. In some patches, the soil is so contaminated with lead and arsenic that nothing grows. The danger isn't in the air, it's buried just underfoot, waiting to be disturbed. Signs warn anyone nearby to stay out, and they mean it. Unlike many forbidden zones created for military secrecy, this one is open about its reason. The ground is simply too deadly. It's a modern ghost field, not because of what stands there, but because of what still lies hidden beneath the surface. The war ended, but in this part of France the battlefield never truly closed. Deep in the redwood forests of Northern California lies a place that's become one of America's most persistent sources of speculation. Bohemian Grove looks like a simple campground from the outside, but it's anything but. For over a century, some of the most powerful men in the world, presidents, tech billionaires, defense officials, have gathered here behind locked gates and armed security. What they do inside is largely unknown, and photography or recording of any kind is strictly banned. Even pilots flying overhead are told to reroute. Officially, it's a private retreat for music, speeches, and theatrical plays. But leaked accounts over the years describe strange ceremonies, including a ritual known as the cremation of care, performed in front of a giant stone owl statue. Whether it's symbolic or something more serious is up for debate, but the secrecy fuels endless questions. Why is this level of privacy needed if it's all just talk and tradition? Attempts to infiltrate the grove have been rare and short-lived. Those who've tried have been escorted out quickly or quietly silenced from saying much afterward. What makes it all the more bizarre is the sheer scale of the operation. Private cabins, open-air theaters, and full catering for the elite, all hidden beneath towering trees. For 2 weeks every year, major global decisions may or may not be made here, far from press and public. It's not the setting of a dystopian film, though it could easily pass for one. Whatever happens under those trees, it's not for the rest of us to see. And that's exactly what keeps curiosity alive. In a world mapped by satellites and photographed from every angle, North Sentinel Island remains one of the last true blanks on the global map. Located in the Bay of Bengal, this jungle-covered island belongs to India but operates like its own lost world. The Sentinelese people who've lived there for thousands of years have made one thing unmistakably clear: outsiders are not welcome. Boats that come too close are met with arrows. Drones are shot down with spears. Even the Indian Navy enforces a no-approach zone several miles out. This is not just a recommendation, it's law. Setting foot on the island is illegal, not only to protect the tribe from modern diseases but also to protect outsiders from the tribe. Very little is known about the Sentinelese language, culture, or tools because no peaceful contact has ever been made. Attempts to study them from afar show that they live by fishing, foraging, and building small huts, but beyond that, it's guesswork. What's unique here is that isolation isn't just survival, it's their choice, and they've defended it without compromise. The mystery surrounding the island has inspired countless theories. How have they remained so untouched by time? Are there ancient customs or knowledge preserved there that the rest of the world has lost? No one knows, and no one will know anytime soon. For now, North Sentinel remains a rare place where the modern world stops at the water's edge, and the price of curiosity might be fatal. Tucked into the hills of Kentucky sits one of the most heavily guarded buildings in the United States, and possibly the entire world. The Fort Knox Bullion Depository isn't just a secure site, it's the definition of untouchable. Behind thick granite walls and reinforced steel doors rests a massive stash of gold bullion, once estimated to total over 4,500 metric tons. But it's not the gold that makes this place so fascinating. It's how impossible it is to get anywhere near it. No one walks in, not the press, not tourists, not even most government officials. The vault is surrounded by layers of defense razor wire fences, armed patrols, electronic surveillance, and ground sensors. It's located right next to a military base, giving it an added blanket of instant response if anyone dares get too curious. The main vault door alone weighs over 20 tons and requires multiple combinations to open, none of which are held by a single person. Despite being a national icon, almost no one has seen the inside of the vault. One of the few times officials were allowed to tour it was decades ago, and the event was so rare it made headlines. Since then, questions about how much gold is still stored there have led to conspiracies ranging from missing reserves to secret experiments. No photos are available of the main chamber, and if they exist, they're not public. Whatever's inside, the message is clear. Fort Knox isn't just secure, it's untouchable. A modern fortress hiding more than just precious metal behind concrete, silence, and one very serious front door. Just a short distance from Venice, Poveglia Island floats in the Venetian lagoon. Small, overgrown, and completely off-limits. It might look like a forgotten park from afar, but its past is the reason boats steer clear. For centuries, Poveglia was a dumping ground for everything society wanted to hide. During several plague outbreaks, infected victims were quarantined here, left in isolation until the end. Later, a psychiatric facility was built on top of those same grounds, one that eventually shut down under mysterious circumstances. Today the island stands silent, but the ban on entry is still in place. The Italian government has officially blocked access to the public, citing safety hazards due to unstable structures. But locals whisper other reasons. Fishermen refuse to anchor nearby. Urban explorers who've attempted unauthorized visits speak of strange sounds, thick fogs, and the overwhelming sense that someone, or something, is watching. The decaying buildings, broken furniture, and old hospital beds remain exactly as they were left, sealed in rot and dust. It's a place frozen in its own haunted timeline. While the stories of spirits and cursed ground may sound like movie material, the island's reputation is serious enough that tours and private visits remain completely off the table. Even in a country overflowing with history, this place has become taboo. It's not marked with danger signs or guards, but everyone knows you don't go to Poveglia. Not for science, not for sightseeing, and definitely not out of curiosity. Deep in the Indian state of Kerala, there's a small village that has left scientists scratching their heads for decades. In Kodinhi, almost every family has at least one pair of twins. Walking through the streets, you'll see children who look like perfect copies of each other everywhere. It's not a coincidence or a trick of the eye. This place has an unusually high number of twins, far more than anywhere else in the country. Nobody knows for sure why this is happening. Some say it's genetics, others believe it has something to do with the local water or diet. What's even stranger is that this pattern has only started in the last century. Before that, the village was just like any other. Now, with hundreds of twins being born, it has become one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in the world of science. Doctors have visited, researchers have run tests, but no one has found a clear answer. The locals don't seem too concerned though. They see it as a blessing, something special about their home. Weddings here often turn into reunions of nearly identical faces. Schools have classrooms full of children who look alike, making it a challenge for teachers to tell them apart. People in Kodini don't just accept their unusual situation, they celebrate it. They even hold events where twins from all over the village come together in matching outfits. It has turned their home into a place of curiosity, where visitors come hoping to understand what makes this village so different. Scientists may still be searching for answers, but for the people of Kodini, life goes on as usual, just with a lot more mirror images than anywhere else. Hidden in the rolling green hills of Brazil, there's a village unlike any other. Noiva do Cordeiro is home almost entirely to women. They run the farms, manage businesses, and make all the rules. Men are allowed to visit, but they don't stay long. This isn't just a group of women living together, this is a society built by and for them. For generations, the women of Noiva do Cordeiro have shaped their own way of life. They don't follow traditional gender roles. They make decisions as a group, ensuring that everyone has a voice. Life here is peaceful, organized, and full of cooperation. Outsiders who hear about the village often assume the women must be looking for husbands, but that's not the case. They value their independence and the balance they've created. The few men who do live here are either young boys or husbands who work elsewhere, only returning on weekends. The women say this setup works better for them. They don't have to deal with the social restrictions that often exist in other places. Instead, they focus on building a strong and supportive community. Their way of life has sparked curiosity, even disbelief, but for the women of Noiva do Cordeiro this is simply home. They grow their own food, celebrate their traditions, and continue to show the world that a society led by women can thrive in its own unique way. Scientists were stunned when satellite images revealed an uncharted island deep in the Pacific. A research team set out and made a discovery that seemed almost mythical, a society where only one man lived among dozens of women. Towering over them, he appeared to be their leader, protector, and perhaps something more. The islanders spoke no known language, their customs a mystery. How had such a society formed? No one knew, but one thing was certain. This was a world unlike any other. In the middle of Nebraska's endless plains, there's a town where the population sign doesn't need updating. It has read one for years. Manaui is the only officially incorporated town in the United States with just one resident. That resident is Elsie Eiler, an elderly woman who refuses to let her home disappear from the map. Elsie is the mayor, the bartender, the librarian, and the treasurer. Every year she submits the town's budget, pays taxes to herself, and renews her own liquor license to keep Manaui's only business running, a small tavern that she operates alone. Travelers and truckers who pass through stop by for a cold drink, a warm meal, and a chance to meet the woman who keeps an entire town alive by herself. Years ago, Manaui was a small but functioning town with families, schools, and stores. As jobs disappeared, people moved away, and eventually, it was just Elsie and her husband Rudy. When he passed away, she became the last person left. But instead of leaving, she stayed. She keeps Manaui going in his memory, tending to the library filled with Rudy's books and keeping the lights on in the town they built together. Most people can't imagine living alone in a town, but for Elsie, it's home. She enjoys the peace and the steady stream of visitors who come just to meet her. She laughs when asked if she ever gets lonely. After all, in Manaui, she's never really alone. There's always someone passing through, eager to hear her story and witness the smallest town in America still standing thanks to one remarkable woman. Nestled along Italy's southern coast, hidden between olive groves and the blue waters of the Mediterranean, lies a village where time seems to slow down. Acciaroli isn't just another picturesque Italian town, it's a place where people routinely live past 100, not just a few lucky ones but many. In a village of just a few thousand residents, an astonishing number of them are centenarians. Scientists have spent years trying to figure out their secret. Is it the diet? The locals eat fresh fish, homegrown vegetables, and plenty of rosemary, a herb known for its health benefits. Maybe it's their way of life. They don't stress over the future, they walk everywhere, they breathe in the clean sea air. Unlike in big cities, there's no rush, no traffic, no endless list of things to do. Life here follows the rhythm of the waves. Doctors have studied their blood, searching for some hidden genetic advantage, but the answer might be simpler than that. They just live differently. Many of the oldest residents have never set foot in a hospital. They don't count calories, they don't follow health trends, and yet, they reach 100 with ease. Some still work in their gardens, others take long walks through the hills. When asked about their longevity, most shrug. They drink wine, they laugh with friends, and they don't worry about things they can't control. In Acciaroli, old age isn't something to fear, it's just another stage of life, one that can last a very long time. But not every place is this peaceful. Just across the ocean there's a town where life couldn't be more different. A place where no one is in a hurry, because no one is allowed to leave. Deep in the heart of Bolivia, hidden behind thick stone walls, there is a place that looks like a town, but isn't. San Pedro Prison is unlike any prison in the world. There are no uniformed guards patrolling the hallways, no rows of cold metal cells. Instead, inside these walls you'll find homes, markets, even restaurants. Families live here, children run through the streets. But every single resident has one thing in common: they're prisoners. San Pedro doesn't function like a normal prison. Here, inmates don't just serve their sentences, they create a society of their own. They buy and sell goods, some run small businesses, others cook meals for their neighbors. Instead of being assigned a cell, prisoners have to buy or rent their own living space. The wealthiest have apartments with TVs and kitchens, while the poorest sleep in overcrowded rooms. Money determines everything. Those who can afford it live well, those who can't struggle just like they would outside. And then there are the families. Unlike in most prisons, inmates here can live with their wives and children. Kids grow up inside, play in the courtyards, and even leave for school each morning before returning at night. To them, San Pedro is home. Some of them have never known anything else, but life inside isn't easy. There are no official guards inside the prison walls. Order is maintained by the prisoners themselves, and those who break the unwritten rules face harsh consequences. It's a world of its own, a functioning society behind locked gates. Yet while San Pedro forces its residents to stay, there's another place far away where people live surrounded by water, drifting on handmade islands. Their homes don't have walls, and their village floats freely on a lake that has been their home for centuries. High in the Andes, where the air is thin and the mountains meet the sky, there is a lake so vast it seems endless. Lake Titicaca, the highest navigable lake in the world, holds a secret: entire villages that float on the water. The Euros people have lived here for centuries, not on land but on islands they build with their own hands. These islands are made of totora reeds, a plant that grows in the shallow waters of the lake. Layer by layer the reeds are stacked and tied together, creating a floating platform strong enough to hold houses, schools, and even watchtowers. Every few weeks fresh reeds are added on top, replacing the ones that rot beneath. It's constant work, but for the Euros it's life as usual. The people here rarely set foot on solid ground. They fish in the lake, cook in clay ovens placed on stone bases to avoid fires, and paddle small reed boats from island to island. Everything moves with the water. Even the islands themselves can be relocated if needed. In the past, this helped the Euros escape threats from rival tribes. Today it keeps their traditions alive in a changing world. Some islands welcome visitors, selling handcrafted goods and sharing their way of life. Others remain closed, preserving traditions passed down for generations. The Euros are not just surviving on the water, they have mastered it. Their villages may seem fragile, but they have endured for centuries, floating through time on the surface of the lake. But while the Euros built their home on water, far across the world, another isolated community chose a different path. One of stone, faith, and an unwavering rule that has stood for 1,000 years. On the northern coast of Greece, rising above the Aegean Sea, stands Mount Athos. It is not just a mountain but a world of its own, a place where time moves at a different pace. Here, in a collection of ancient monasteries, men have lived and prayed in isolation for over 1,000 years, and no woman has set foot here in all that time. The monks of Mount Athos follow strict religious traditions. They wake before dawn, spending their days in prayer, tending to gardens, and preserving manuscripts older than most nations. Life here is simple: no distractions, no outside noise, just devotion. They believe this isolation brings them closer to God. The rule forbidding women dates back to the 10th century and is enforced without exception. Even female animals are banned, except for cats, which help control the rodent population. Some have challenged the rule over the years, but the monks remain firm. To them, Mount Athos is a spiritual refuge, untouched by the outside world. Few outsiders ever step beyond its borders. Special permission is required, and only men can receive it. Those who visit find themselves in a place frozen in time. Byzantine frescoes cover the monastery walls, chants echo through stone corridors, and the outside world feels impossibly far away. For the monks, this life is a choice, a commitment to a way of living that has not changed for centuries. But not all isolated communities choose silence. In another remote village across the ocean, an entire town communicates in a way most people would never expect, without words, but with a language of their own. Tucked away in the jungles of Bali, there is a village where silence isn't a limitation, it's a way of life. Bengkala is home to an unusually high number of deaf residents, a rare genetic condition passed down for generations. But here, deafness is not seen as a disability. It is simply another way to exist. For centuries, the people of Bengkala have adapted, creating their own form of communication, Kata Kolak, a unique sign language developed entirely within the village. Unlike the sign languages used elsewhere in the world, this one was built specifically for the rhythms of life here. Everyone in Bengkala, whether deaf or hearing, uses it fluently. There is no division. A conversation between neighbors flows just as easily in gestures as it would in spoken words. Daily life carries on just as it does anywhere else. Farmers work in the fields, shopkeepers sell goods, children play in the streets. The only difference is that spoken words are not necessary. There are no honking car horns or loudspeaker announcements. Just the sounds of nature and the quiet movements of people who have mastered a language of the hands. What makes Bengkala truly remarkable is its approach to inclusivity. In most societies, the deaf must adapt to the hearing world. Here, the hearing have adapted to the deaf. There is no stigma, no one is left out. In Bengkala, silence is not a barrier. It's just another voice in a village that listens with its eyes. Off the coast of Colombia, in the middle of the Caribbean Sea, lies a tiny island no bigger than 2 soccer fields. But what makes Santa Cruz del Islote truly astonishing isn't its size, it's the sheer number of people who call it home. With over 1,200 residents packed into an area less than 3 acres, it is one of the most densely populated places in the world. There are no cars, no roads, and barely any space between the buildings. Houses are squeezed together, their walls almost touching. Every inch of the island is used. Rooftops serve as extra living spaces, and tiny alleyways double as gathering spots. Despite this, the people of Santa Cruz del Islote have built a life filled with warmth and community. Everyone knows each other. Doors are always open, and meals are often shared. Life here is simple, but tough. There's no running water, and electricity is only available for a few hours a day. Supplies must be brought in from the mainland, and when the island gets too crowded, some families move to boats anchored nearby. Still, the people stay because Santa Cruz isn't just an island, it's home, passed down through generations. From the sky, Santa Cruz looks impossibly small, almost swallowed by the sea. But for those who live here, it is everything. There is no empty land to expand, no space to grow, but there is laughter, resilience, and a way of life that thrives against the odds. Yet while the residents of Santa Cruz welcome visitors with open arms, there is another island far away where outsiders are met with silence, and sometimes, hostility. Deep in the Indian Ocean, hidden behind walls of dense jungle and surrounded by dangerous reefs, lies an island frozen in time. North Sentinel Island is home to the Sentinelese, one of the last uncontacted tribes on Earth. For thousands of years they have remained isolated, resisting every attempt at outside contact, and they will do whatever it takes to keep it that way. No one knows exactly how many Sentinelese live on the island. No one knows their language, their traditions, or their way of life. What is known is that they want nothing to do with the outside world. When helicopters fly overhead, they shoot arrows. When boats drift too close, they charge the shores with weapons raised. Even when natural disasters have struck, such as the 2004 tsunami, they have remained, untouched, unchanged. The Indian government has declared the island off-limits. No one is allowed to set foot there. In the past, a few explorers and fishermen have ignored the warnings, only to disappear. Those who did survive described a place untouched by modern civilization, where the people live as they did thousands of years ago. The Sentinelese don't just avoid the world, they actively push it away. In an age where technology connects almost every corner of the planet, this small island remains an impenetrable mystery. No photos, no recordings, no stories told by outsiders, just the thick jungle, the silent figures watching from the trees, and the knowledge that some places are not meant to be disturbed. But while North Sentinel Island remains untouched, there is another place where people live at the mercy of nature. A land that is disappearing year by year, sinking beneath the water, forcing its residents to watch as their home slowly vanishes. In the Bay of Bengal, where the river meets the sea, there is an island that is fighting a battle it cannot win. Goramara, a small village in India's Sundarbans region, is vanishing bit by bit, swallowed by the rising tides. Every year the island shrinks. Every year more homes are lost, and one day it may disappear completely. For decades the people of Goramara have watched their land erode. Fields that once grew rice are now underwater. Roads have turned into muddy paths leading to nowhere. Some families have already left, forced to abandon the place their ancestors called home. Others stay, holding on to what little remains, refusing to surrender to the sea. The villagers do what they can, building walls of sandbags, reinforcing the shore with bamboo barriers. But the ocean always returns, taking more with each wave. Scientists say the island could be gone within a few decades, but to those who still live here, Goramara is not just a piece of land. It is their history, their identity, their last connection to a world that is slowly washing away. Each year, the island grows smaller, and each year, the people who remain wonder if this will be their last. They are fighting against something far bigger than themselves, yet they refuse to leave without a fight, because to them, Goramara is not just disappearing, it is still their home. Deep in the arid plains of Kenya, far from the reach of traditional society, stands a village where men are not welcome. Umoja, which means unity in Swahili, is a place built by women, for women. It was founded as a sanctuary, a place where those escaping forced marriages, domestic violence, and societal restrictions could start anew. Here women don't just survive, they thrive, proving that a community can function entirely on its own terms. There are no husbands, no male authority figures. Every decision is made collectively, from farming and security to trade and education. The women raise livestock, sell handmade crafts, and welcome visitors interested in learning about their way of life. Children grow up in a society where they see women in every leadership role. For them, this is normal. Occasionally, men from nearby villages try to challenge Umoja, upset by its existence. Some have attempted to reclaim their wives, others have tried to intimidate the women into leaving. But Umoja stands firm. The women protect each other, reminding the world that strength doesn't always come from physical power. It comes from unity, resilience, and the refusal to be controlled. While Umoja is a place of warmth and community, another village on the opposite side of the world is defined by something much harsher: cold. A place where the air can freeze skin in seconds, where metal sticks to bare hands, and where only the toughest survive. Far from Kenya's sun-baked lands, deep in the Russian wilderness, lies a town where winter never truly ends. Oymyakon is the coldest permanently inhabited settlement on the planet. In the dead of winter, temperatures here plunge to -80 degrees Fahrenheit. Cars left outside must run all night or their engines will freeze solid. Eyelashes turn to ice. Breathing in too deeply can make lungs ache. Yet people live here. They fish in frozen rivers, raise cattle, and send their children to school even when the air is colder than the surface of Mars. Life in Oymyakon is not for the weak. There are no grocery stores stocked with fresh produce. Food must be hunted, fished, or stored for months. Most homes rely on wood-burning stoves and electricity can be unreliable. Despite the brutal conditions, the people here are used to it. They laugh at the idea of cold weather warnings seen in other countries. To them, this is normal. They wear thick fur coats, keep warm with hot soups and tea, and continue their lives as if the rest of the world wasn't watching in amazement. For all its hardships, Oymyakon has something few places can offer: stunning, untouched beauty. The snowy forests stretch endlessly, the night sky glows with stars, and the rivers freeze into sheets of crystal. But if the cold ever becomes too much, there is one place where escaping the elements means going underground, literally. In the middle of Australia's scorching outback, where the sun burns relentlessly and the ground cracks from heat, there is a town that has learned to escape the elements in an unusual way. Coober Pedy is not like other places, because most of it is underground. This small mining town is famous for its opals, some of the most valuable gemstones in the world. But with temperatures often reaching 110 degrees Fahrenheit, life above ground is unbearable. So the residents built homes, churches, and even hotels beneath the earth, carving entire neighborhoods into the cool rock. Walking through Coober Pedy feels like stepping into another world. There are underground restaurants, museums, and bars. Tourists who visit can sleep in hotels dug into the rock, where the temperature stays cool year-round, no air conditioning needed. Above ground, the landscape is barren, resembling the surface of Mars. There are no trees, no rivers, just miles of desert stretching to the horizon. But despite the extreme conditions, people love it here. The miners continue their search for opals, families raise their children in underground homes, and the town remains a symbol of human adaptability. When the land refuses to cooperate, Coober Pedy proves that sometimes the best way to survive isn't to fight nature, it's to work around it. Deep in the Amazon, hidden from the modern world, a tribe exists unlike any other, a tribe of only men. No one knows exactly how this happened. Some say disease wiped out the women, others believe they were taken by rival tribes. Whatever the truth, these men have survived alone for generations. They hunt, build, and pass down their traditions. But without women, their future is uncertain. One day their way of life may vanish, leaving only whispers of a tribe that lived and disappeared deep in the jungle. That's about it. Write in the comments which place surprised you the most. For more useful information, watch other videos.